Praise God, folks. How are you? This is Truth Speaker. This is a quick vid. It's very disturbing. It seems like racism is raised its ugly head again. Racism, race bait, hatred, riots, murders. Somebody was recently hung in Texas. People joining ISIS, one form of racism or another. And one asks oneself, what have we gained in 150 years from slavery? And this one is called Slavery to Freedom, to Civil Rights Marches. Blacks still have nothing. Let's blame the white man. I just want to start this by saying, first of all, one of our major problems today that's facing not only African American but blacks everywhere in America is these so-called civil rights leaders. Let me tell you something. Do you know that the unemployment rate you often hear is what, 7.4%? But that's white America. That's not African Americans. The unemployment rate for African Americans nationwide is over 34%. If it was any other race, they will sound the national alarms. You don't own any of the media, so you have no outlet to speak to your own people. You have been vilified all over the world. And this is not a hate speech. This is a wake-up call. Black people are disappearing. Do you know, we make up 13% of the population, but there are over 1 million black people in prison. 1 million black, think of that, there are 2 million men and 2 million people in prison, and 1 million of them are black men. Yet black men only make up 6% of the population. That's all there is left. And dying fast. Do you understand me? Still, we listen to this garbage, this gangster rap, and we listen to these phony, so-called, self-appointed civil rights leaders. Let me tell you, these people are bought and paid for. These people are clowns. Do you understand me? What do you think they did to Sharpton? They ran them out of Chicago. These people are phonies. Now, Jesse Jackson, let me explain. Let me expound on my statement. He was there with Dr. King. And if you notice, the civil rights movement ended right after the assassination of Dr. King. I'll tell you what happened. The famous inclusion policy. Daniel Patrick Moynihan sent a policy to the president of that time, Richard Nixon, called benign neglect. They had to take some of the emphasis off black and include immigrants and women into it. And that broke down the momentum. They had to take, so to speak, the steam out of that engine. And we've been running down ever since that, and with these so-called self-appointed civil rights leaders. Do you know we don't own anything. Do you know that? Let me give you this point. In 1865, when Lincoln freed the slaves, you had 5 million blacks that were supposedly free. They own, out of that 5 million, I think about 300,000 own less than 1/2 of 1% of America's total wealth. Here we are 150 years later, 13% of the population, 43 million Americans, and we still own less than 1/2 of 1%. Economically speaking, we have not moved one iota. We do not have anything. We do not own any. Let me tell you something. We don't have communities. We have neighborhoods, hoods. That's a place to just eat, sleep, and take a crap. That's it. We are 100% consumers. You hear these idiots, wow, the strides of the black man. Yeah, you can sit down at a restaurant for all that's worth. Bravo. You can go vote. Well, Even the Supreme Court, well, I won't go into that. That's the subject for voters' rights. That's the subject for another video. Even that's been taken away from you. Do you understand? You have been rendered almost obsolete. Do you understand that? We don't own any businesses. A community is a self-sustained unit. Your money's supposed to bounce 8 to 12 times before it leaves your community. Even the Spanish, their money bounce 6 times before it leaves the community. Asians and Arabs, their money bounce about 8 times to 12 times before it leaves the community. Jews, their money bounce 12 times before it leaves their community. African Americans don't bounce once. Sorry for the plain old-fashioned English. We don't own anything. See, a community is a self-sustained governed unit. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. We don't own a toilet paper factory. From the civil rights marches for 50 years ago, and in 1963 we were marching for jobs and justice. 20 years later, we were still marching for jobs and justice. In 1980, the Million Man March, marching for jobs and justice. Here we are, 2015, still marching for jobs and justice. We have been marching 50 years, and we have not gained a thing. We don't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out. And furthermore, we're going to be a permanent underclass. We're the #1 minority group. The Hispanics have caught and passed us by leaps and bounds. And now the Asians are edging over us. We're going to be buried under an unending flow of immigrants. Let's blame the white man. No, it's not the white man who did that. No. And you know, you had 20 times more businesses in the 1920s than you do today. In the 1950s, you were, economically speaking, you were better off than you are today. But we fool around and let these so-called civil rights groups of the era let you fight for sitting down at somebody else's counter so you can eat a sandwich. What good did it do? You don't have the little bit of businesses you had. You lost everything. It's time to put God first and wake up before we die and go out of existence. Repent, give your life to the Lord, and live for God, and let's unite. We will not. We're the only ethnic group in America or on earth that will not unite. Like I said, if you don't have communities, you're going to disappear. Let me tell you a little something. You listen to these so-called gangster rappers and all that. Do you know a lot of them didn't even write that foolishness? Do you understand that? Most of those guys go broke. The only successful black people is somebody, most of them have some kind of relationship with a ball, a football, a basketball, or a golf ball. That's why I say from cotton ball to football, you are still well, I won't use that word, still a Negro, and a broke one at that. Do you know the whole scam was to incarcerate you to start with? They have to do something for you. People saying, you hear something, what strides black people make? You have not made any strides at all. The only thing you can do is sit down and order a sandwich along with the next person. And then most likely you have to borrow money for that. Do you know the unemployment rate for in some communities is as much as 50%? Why don't you try Baltimore or New York? 47%. Try Boston. Do you know the unemployment rate for African American teenagers, the young blacks? 57%. It's astronomical. Don't you understand what I'm telling you? Watch out for these so-called civil rights leaders that never tell you to open up your own business. We're the only people that train our children to leave your community. Leave your neighborhood and work for another ethnic group. Now, I'm not racist, but the 14th Amendment was not written for all these other people. You know, the first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. You know that, right? You do know what the 14th Amendment... Never mind. This is a wake-up call, Black America. You have about another 1 or 2 years left, and you're finished. All you're going to do is line up in those for-profit prisons. The head of the CCA and those groups, Correctional Corporation of America, went to the governors of each state and said, you don't have to go to the government. You don't have to go to anybody, state officials or legislature. We will build as many prisons in your state if you want, as long as you keep them 98% full. And who do you think they're full with? People of color. Then they're charging you for toiletries for being there. It's a scam. You should see it in the prison. One half build computers, the other half build I forgot travel agency. They showed it. It's a whole documentary after documentary of it. It's a big work plantation. That's all it is, with bars on it. So contrary to what these so-called civil rights leaders, which nobody, you ever notice, don't point these civil rights leaders. Did anybody ever ask you, did you want to? You can speak for yourself. You voted for the wrong people. Like we said, a lot of these things were done by these so-called civil rights groups. When I was growing up, we had our own drugstore, black owned and operated. And I haven't seen one since. And that was the early 70s. Black America, wake up, you're dying. America, period, is dying. Don't you understand that the fiat currency, the world reserve currency, is almost obsolete? Do you understand that? Do you see even China opened up its own world bank? Do you see that? Its own worldwide financial institution. I'm not racist or anything, but and this is for all other people of color. If we don't wake up, well, that's for another video. One thing, we are in great danger. Black America, wake up. Let me tell you about this affirmative action and the grants that were set up for you. Do you know, I have family members who work, I'm not going to even call the name of the institution. Well, you're an African American, you get it. What the heck is an African American? The Arabs came, they was stuck with, Palestinians came over to America, went to fill out all the papers, went to the office. I was in Africa, now I'm an American. I'm an African American. Having $127,000 worth of grants so I can open up stores all over the African American community. My mother, the friends told my mother that their jaw dropped open. That was meant for black people. I thought you wanted to be called African American. What is an African American? It's time to wake up before we disappear. Stop blaming white people. It's not white people. It's our own people that did more damage than anything else. You never hear any of these so-called civil rights group leaders, self-appointed, tell you anything about opening up your own businesses. That's the problem. It's not white people. Wake up. Ask God to forgive you for your sins. All of us, we need to get together and unite. Lord, teach us how to unite and bless us and give us momentum and direction. Never mind these so-called civil rights leaders. God bless. And pray.